bringing people up. But yeah, what I was saying is like you have to like with regards to pivoting and empowering yourself and all of that stuff, like you do have to pivot, but like the pivot comes after you empower yourself, because really you just have to give yourself permission to give yourself your own evaluation. You know what I'm saying? You have to give yourself permission to do the things that you know you can do in a new space. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to give yourself permission to be a pluralist and to take your skill set and just try something out because you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But it all starts with building yourself back up, giving yourself permission, telling yourself what you're good at. And then, like the homie said, you got to do a new handshake. You got to reintroduce yourself to people as who you are and what you're doing now. And I've done it a few times, and Nick has seen me for every single one of those reintroductions. Hey, I'm back. Let's have lunch. I'm doing TV now. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but you have to do a good job of knowing who you are, embodying that, walking in it, and then, you know, selling it to other people, reintroducing yourself to other people in a way that they know that you believe yourself, you know, because when you know who you are, people notice, and when you don't know who you are, people also notice. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Carl, my brother, what would you like the conversation, homie?
What's going on, everybody? Good morning. This is a very personal conversation to me, as Nick knows, being that I come from the music space. A lot of people knew me as West Fifth, from Haters Everywhere, B.O.B., Home Team with Big Crit, Sci-Hi, all the publications, tours, Slip and Slide, Records Deal, all that good stuff. I pivoted from music maybe voluntarily, maybe 10 to 12 years ago, and got into design. And that came as a product of me just needing to design my own CD covers, my own posters, and things like that. Then as I learned it, I started to do it for other people, right? And one thing about it, so now I have my own agency. We worked with City of Orlando, Def Jam, Rolling Loud, Magic City, through Nick, of course. We do all the brand imagery and all the creative direction for Crew, Hookah Lounge, Nyack, Hot Dog Factory, all that good stuff. I see my guy Bentley in here. We worked with Escobar and Crave and Members Only through him a while back. So now I'm in the agency space, and we do strategy and paid ads and identity for wellness and lifestyle brands. And one thing that I've always told Nick, because Nick is my brother in real life, he was my manager back in the day. One thing I always drove home to Nick is do not put all your eggs in the music basket. I know it's your bread and butter. I know it's where we come from, but I always told him, do not only do that. And I think to answer the primary question of what do you do after that, or how do you kind of shake that music industry identity, is to really just learn the verbiage and the jargon of just business in general. I heard Bentley say P&Ls. When we talk about marketing, you know, we just think about street team and we're going to flood the city with posters, but that's called out of home. Go-to-market strategies. Like when you really learn just the business jargon and the language, it makes it a little bit easier for you to convey what it is you have been doing in the music space. And I think when you're able to do that and when you're able to quantify results, everybody in business is going to understand that language, right? So if you've been used to marketing Little Baby or an app or liquor, like you've done that to a specific market, you've been targeting a specific demographic. There was a strategy behind that. So once you learn the language and how to convey it, that's what's going to make it easier for you to go into essentially any space. And as far as the identity thing, me and Nick talk about this a lot also. So for me, I had to shake the rapper image first. Then we got into design. I no longer do design. I do primarily strategy. Now I've had to shake the designer tag. And it's important to understand that the imposter syndrome never leaves, right? And the only way that you can kind of help that is, for me, is to just keep learning, keep putting shots up, and keep getting experience. And always remember that every new interaction you have, every time you come across a new prospect or a new client, is an opportunity to reinvent yourself. So you can never stop reinventing yourself in reality.
Hey, man, thank you for saying all that, bro. 'Cause like I said, me and you have personal conversations all the time of what that looks like. And I was going through some tweets of mine. I was going to repost. I'm still going to do it probably after this call because I want to concentrate on the call. But I always ask people, I'm like, yo, where do A&Rs go? Like, where does the retired A&R go? Like, your whole job, you had the sexy job, the cool thing that everybody wanted to do. You hung out with the rappers. You were around with the artists. You were in the studio all day. But when you get laid off, where do you go?
Well, I can speak to that. I can speak to that, Nick. Good morning, everybody. It's really tough, man, because A&R is such a finite kind of story, kind of skill, you know. It's not really transferable to a lot of things. Your people skills are transferable, but the actual skill of A&R is not. What I've transferred to is managing some producers, and because I just love music and I didn't really want to get away from it, but I knew getting an A&R job was minuscule for me to get back in the game. So I'm doing it that way, but it is really tough as an A&R person to figure it out. I know a lot of A&R people try to get an act, an artist, and go that way. And what getting laid off and and being on the outside looking in has taught me is that we actually do have a lot of skills, but like you said, Nick, a lot of us get so tied to the company or the artist or whoever we're working with that gets tied to our identity so much that we can't kind of see around that. It's like, well, who am I if I'm not Jeff Sledge from Atlantic or Jive or whatever? Like, who am I? So there's definitely a period of readjustment, and a lot of people don't really get out of that. A lot of people kind of get depressed and go through a lot of things. I mean, I think fortunately I've got a lot of good people around me, and I've been able to work through it. But it's tough. But it is hard for the A&R person to get bumped out and figure it out.
Definitely.
We've had some good people in the music business kill themselves. Like, I mean, successful ones, successful managers, successful A&Rs. Like, we've had, and keep in mind, we're in a business that everybody from the inside to the outside, from people that are in it, from rappers to fans, are all like, it's a young man's game, it's a young man's game, it's a young man's game. All right, cool. So what do I do when I'm 30, 40, 50, 60, if I've been doing this professionally? So y'all just telling me that once I'm not young no more, it's more rap?
You know what irks me about that, Nick, is they say that just to the black side. Because I know several, white A&R guys that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old still kind of doing their thing. But they've kind of put on top of us that if we're not the young, hot cat in the club or, a woman in the club or whatever running around, running the streets, not sleeping, not taking care of ourselves, that we're not valuable. And all the skills and stuff that we're accumulating along the way don't transfer. But it's only on the black side they do that. That's always irked me. Like, you never see, besides guys like L.A. Reid and, some, but there's very few guys like that will still be able to do A&R and kind of be creative past the age of like 30, all of a sudden you're 35 and now you old school. It's crazy to me how they do that.
I would like to get my opinion on this topic.
That's
I think that you guys. Yeah, I want to give my opinion on this topic. I think you guys give like really good examples. For me, I haven't been in the music industry, but I was an artistic director for a couple of clubs, and that's all my life was. I graduated from dancer to choreographer to artistic director for clubs in Miami. One club like Bamboo, and if you've ever been to Miami, you've heard of Mansion. So I've been an artistic director, and that was my whole life, and then travel to Vegas and then travel. And, I always learned that I was always as good as my next job. I was only as good as my next job. And then it got to a point where I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, as soon as the job opportunity ends, I go back to being broke and being nothing at the end of the day. So then I decided, I was like, I'm going to start doing social media full throttle, and I'm going to build up my own brand. And when I hear all you guys talk about like your A&Rs and you have these abilities and you have all of these technical perspectives of how you market artists, I sit down and I think, yo, that would be great for a content creator. What'd you say?
I said, nah, you just had the epiphany. I could do this for myself.
Yeah. And when I sit down and hear all of you guys say this, I'm like, you know how, like, if I knew half of the stuff that you guys knew, like as a content creator, you probably are connected to so many different people in your particular field. And right now, like, if I had a couple of A&Rs who knew the system on how to promote and market an artist, and you could market a content creator the same type of underground methods, you could probably make me one of the biggest creators in that area or even in the world with the technical perspectives that you guys have, So so based on this topic, when y'all sit down and say, what do we do next? It's like, yo, you understand marketing. You understand psychology of people. Use that. Jump into the creative space. Jump in, start building your own brand. Do exactly what all the creators are doing, and you're going to blow past all the people who are still trying to find it out. I would love to learn from all of you guys the basic tools that you guys have. That makes sense?
Hey, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
Hey,
good morning.
Hey,
good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Verse, before you jump in, because I know we brought Aisha, and we brought Weeks up here. I want to get them, and then Verse, I want to go to you, because I know you got something super significant that has. So I want to get them up, and then I want to go to you, Verse. So Aisha, you ladies first.
I actually, first off, this is my first time being in one of these rooms. So
shouts out to you. Welcome.
And I wanted to come in because I'm new to the music industry, right? With working with talents, things like that. So I'm a baby in that regard. However, the things that I'm not a baby in still applies. When you first started talking, Nick, you said, however you can see it apply to you, you use it. So I did. And what I'm hearing y'all talk about, especially when we talk about identity, because what I am is a mindfulness. Like when I work with my talents, what I do is probably that A&R, but because I'm so new to this, I don't have a name for it. I just help them stay in that creative process and in that creative space. But that's because I'm also a life coach, mindfulness coach, right? And when we're talking about our identities, we easily place our identities based on the skill sets that we have. And one of the things that somebody mentioned was how they introduce themselves. And I always make sure to make it a point to introduce myself as, hi, this is the version of me that I've learned how to be thus far. If you're down, I would love for you to be on the journey to continue in these chapters. And I have a set of skills that we can tap in with, because I'm not attached to the identity of those things. I'm a disabled veteran. If I was attached to anything, I would be attached to the fact that I served in the military. I went to Afghanistan. I went to war. I had to learn how to pivot because I am 100% disabled veteran still to this day. And when the world shut down in 2020, everybody got on the same playing field with me. It became even for me. It became equal for me, right? And now I get the opportunity to be in spaces like this and share this little tidbit of insight. When y'all are talking about having these skill sets, like there's an indoctrination that happens when you go through and you have to learn and get that education and do these things, right? And it's awesome and it's amazing, but you lose so much of you because you've given so much in sacrifice. As a soldier, I know that sacrifice, right? So what I made sure I understand now in my rehabilitation, being a soldier who went to become disabled, have PTSD, all of these things, I am forever learning who I am. And I don't know if who I am right now is going to be the same person that I am in 20 years and 10 years, because I know who I was 10 years ago, baby. We wouldn't be having this conversation because my seizure disorder wouldn't allow my nerves. Because right now I'm sitting in my car having to talk real quick because I have severe anxiety and it's real. But I no longer allow it to hinder me in that way because I know I'm always learning me. So if you guys start giving that space, that real deep shit, that deeper conversation that's not necessarily being had here, but being had here, give space for that, lead with that as you're doing the interconnecting, because networking is getting to know humans. So as you get to know these other humans and find out their skill set, it's going to allow you to, when people break your heart. Like I had a client a couple years ago who I got on this fucking platform, I'm going to just be real with it, never say their name, who burnt me. And I felt devastated the same way some of y'all, that identity that you had with the skill set, this marketing, whatever that field, and you put that time and that energy. I had devoted this time and this energy to this client, and he dumped me like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I pivoted on that ass, right? So it's like, because I understood he was just a client, that meant that my product was weak and I can fix that.
For sure.
Right? But he doesn't make who I am. So that's what I wanted to offer to this.
Hey, thank you. Hey, and I'm following. I'm gonna follow you. That you said a mouthful. I love that. I appreciate you. I really appreciate what you said. Let me throw you some loves and some likes right now.
Hey Nick, can I add something to just what she was saying?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Noah.
I just wanted to add, like she was mentioning about mindfulness and understanding your health and how that can be affected as well. I've been working in the industry for at least 15 years now, and I can remember the first time that I got fired, not only from my venue, but then stage managing a play. I was devastated, and what I didn't expect to happen was my health took a real toll, and I had a seizure. Out of the stress, because I did not know who I was, what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to be mindful of that too. Like, mindfulness is real. Understand your body, understand your stress responses, because people get hired because somebody got fired.
That's a fact.
Agreed.
Hey, and I want to throw this out before we get to Greg Weeks. Some people, and I think a lot of y'all will resonate with this, some of y'all ain't necessarily attached to the position. You probably don't give a fuck about being the marketing guy, the A&R guy, or whatever guy. What you're attached to is that salary. What you're attached to is that expense account. What you're attached to is the perks that come with the job. So when you go from making 100, 125, 150, 200, 250, half a mil a year, and now you got to drive Uber, or now you got to go back and throwing parties, or now you got to go figure out something else, that's the identity crisis. The identity crisis is, who are you without that money? Take the title out of it. What are you when you ain't making what you used to make? That's one of the tougher things that we haven't even touched on. When that money switch up, what you look like?
Yeah.
Hey,
How do you value?
Let me add something real quick, because I just been listening, right? But one of the things that I think there's also a separation between kind of like the careers that some people have and the jobs that some people have. Because remember, people are also getting laid off that have jobs, and people are getting laid off that actually have careers. And then also at the same time, when we speak about music is one of those power position jobs as well. And so the job usually typically has the power and not so much the person. And what I mean is it's like being president or being mayor. Typically when people leave, I think what Dave was talking about is like when people leave those jobs, your phone stops ringing, and that's tough, because a lot of times, most of the people, it's a transactional relationship, right? Like, people are calling you because they want something from you, right? It's like a lot of people are calling you because they want to get signed, or they want a deal, or they want their song played on the radio, they whatever it is. But also we gotta take into account that there are also people that are getting laid off that are not in a career position, and they're going to have to remarket themselves too, or figure out a way to become what you guys became, right? And I think that's important as well, is figure out what you guys decided to do and really pivot into careers. And I think that's extra important that you guys figure out that you're pivoting into careers as opposed to jobs. Because I know there's a lot of people, like the whole team in Austin, Texas, got laid off from Amazon Music, and that was just crazy. I know a lot of people are like, yo, they just laid off all of YouTube Music. They laid off all of YouTube Music straight up. So that was crazy. So, I just wanted to shout out people that actually have jobs that are trying to figure out their way in this business that are also getting laid off. And I think that the good thing is you're in a area right now, or in a career, or in a field right now where the power is in your hands with technology to create your own job. It's easier to create a job than there ever was before, and I think that that's important. So I just wanted to take that into account and shout out those people too.
For sure.
Definitely.
Let me get Greg, and let me get Verse in here too. So, Greg, you want to throw something in there?
Morning, Greg. Back, my brother.
What up, family? What up? Love this therapy session, man. For anybody that don't know, I'm a music industry cousin. I work in TV and film, so I'm not in that form of industry, but I'm in another one, or entertainment. And so, some of the words that are sticking in my mind right now is supplement, and I love how I think bro talked about. What did he say? He said language, jargon, and industry vocabulary. I had people over the years ask me, hey, what's up, bro? You still doing your acting thing or whatever? And I was able to say yes, for one, because I'm not a quitter and ain't no punk ass. So, no punk bitch is what they say. And so I was able to keep going because I knew from off top that in my particular industry, I used to have to leave on lunch breaks from changing oil and shit to go and do auditions in the middle of the day, and was risking my cash cow. And so sometimes you have to, most times you have to make risk along the way to even get in position to get where you are doing your dream job or being successful. And so I knew that I wanted to get completely into my industry where I didn't have to hopscotch from industry to industry and risk my livelihood along the way. And so I became a crew member as well. So I was able to do both. And even with me doing crew as well as cast, I was still having to jump through a couple hoops here and there, or I would leave set in Rome, Georgia, an hour and a half outside the city to go back to Stone Mountain to do an audition in somebody's living room and have to pay an extra fee because it's midnight. And the audition, I had 2 or 3 auditions stacked up on me, so I'm on set doing things, memorizing lines, and have to get back to the city while I'm tired from doing a 12 to 15-hour day. And so we have to understand that sometimes we have to have mean streaks where we go in the zone and we accumulate a certain amount of skills and type of skills so that we can survive inside and outside of our industry. And so when you talk about supplement, that should be like the main and cultural ingredient in our living rooms, because like somebody said in the chat, job security is a myth. Right, that's just anybody can get fired. We're talking about everything from corporate layoffs to Amazon and what he was saying earlier, what Isaac just said, to people who work in what they call freelance work. And so I'll just say this: when we understand more about, when I talked about vocabulary, when he talked about vocabulary and language of the industry, everything that you get a part of, and I'll land here. Everything that you join and become a part of, there's a bigger version of it, and there's a deeper level to understanding. Like there's levels to this shit, as Meek Mill say. And so if you can think about everything in a totalitarian, approach it with a totalitarian mindset, where you think about how does the industry work, not just a position that I want to qualify for. So again, I know that there's an agency and the casting director. If I'm a grip, I'm working crew, I work set decoration. Right. I know that there's a union. I know that, right? You learn these things. There's an artist, there's AR, there's marketing, there's the owner of the label. There's different levels to this shit. If you can just wrap your mind around what the industry is consumed of and think about all of the unilateral positions that exist inside of it, then you can start to prepare yourself and position yourself, which is another huge word, position yourself for success. There you go, I'll land.
Okay. Shouts out to you, Greg. I appreciate you jumping on. Verse, I definitely want to get to you. And everybody in the audience, like I said, I told everybody at the beginning of this call, this is going to be kind of heavy music business, entertainment. But as I was sitting here listening and going through the chat, there's so many things in our lives day to day that we wrap our identities in, and then when they change, we're all stuck. And this reminded me of, like, who are you when you're no longer married to that person? We know when you've been husband, wife, father, head of household, whatever the case may be, and that changes, it's no different. It's like when your identity is wrapped up in being such and such as husband, or such and such as wife, or such and such as girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, like, when that changes on you, there is a time period that of an adjustment that has to take place. And you got to redefine yourself. Everybody who has got up on this stage at some point has mentioned some level of identity. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Like, truly, like, who are you without the job, without the spouse, without the money, without the big house, without the big car? Who are you?
I would like to jump in on that real quick before we get Verse up here, Nick, because with regards to that question of who you are, like the young lady said, you might not know who you are, and you have to be fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Because in order to grow, you have to be able to see your weak spots. You have to be able to see the space in between the things that you think you can do, the things you know you can do, and the things you haven't given yourself permission yet to do. You know what I'm saying? So the thing that I hear a lot of people saying, especially on the call today, is the fact that they were told that they have to win in this one position to a point where they never gave themselves permission to think outside the box. And like the homie Carl said, like, oh, I can do marketing, I can do this, I can do that, I can pivot as many times as I want to, as long as you continue to give yourself permission to do so.
Facts. Hey, I want to get to Verse, and I definitely want to get to Vanny, because Vanny talking some good stuff in the chat as well. So,
Vanny,
what you got, homie?
Hey, good morning to everybody, man. Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Sir, Dre, Gary, all my constituents who I know on here. So I want to chime in really fast, and we're going to talk about where we're talking about the layoffs and reinventing yourself. Like, the end all be all is always evolve or dissolve. right? When you get into this business, it should always be an end goal. Nobody wants to get into this business and say, hey, I want to be an A&R and let that be the end all be all, and that's it. The problem right now is because a lot of the people that have gotten laid off and the people that were behind the scenes, so to speak, they're not communicable. They're not outspoken. They don't speak, you know what I mean? And they don't advertise themselves. So what happens is that now when that U-Music email is gone, when that Warner Music email is gone, the identity seems to dissipate itself as well, right? So it's like, in my goal, I always wanted to work towards doing something else. If I was an A&R, I wanted to move on to say not being a president, but I wanted to be in the helm and hold my position to be able to groom other artists as well. That's the whole purpose of artists and repertoire. You get in, you want to groom their artists, and as well as groom your own passion artists as well, and have your backup plan, which should always be your plan A, for real. You're just keeping the lights on with the label and learning and educating yourself. The bad part about it is that becomes the end-all be-all to them. You have all the contacts. General counsel, if you're an actor, you have all the directors and all these different guys' numbers because a lot of people are subcontracted. So you should always be able to speak in that lineage and be able to grow from there. During the Grammys, they made the announcement that Universal was folding a lot of labels into one another. So essentially it became a job fair. People who were paying attention was actually talking to people from Reservoir and Cobalt and different things like that. People who weren't paying attention were just walking around lollygagging, not knowing that they're getting ready to be laid off and get the pink slip. And now the problem is that you don't have a brand. Everybody that the guy was just mentioning about content, listen, you have all this education and knowledge from the business of music. That's what I do. I've been in the business 25 years. So, I've run labels, I've broken dope artists, and, and I've stood alongside, alongside some of the best and in front of some of the best. And I get it. And I understand that having every step needs to take you to another floor. So music has taken me everywhere, from branding to, to the culture branding business, to doing fragrances for large individuals in the marketplace, to making other contacts. When you're in that industry and you're in that building, you're supposed to be talking to the head of Global Sync. You're supposed to be talking to, Julie Swindler, the head of General Counsel. So you can be in good graces, not only with these people, but in that relationship, so you can move on and move up. Because guess what? You look at the perfect example, right? Well, look at Arnold. South Coast Music Group, right? He's head of the Baby is his artist. Arnold worked in radio and worked in the labels for years before, but he always had his plan to have South Coast Music Group. You think Arnold would be tripping right now if he got laid off? He wouldn't care. He already has his setup, because who will get you there. What you learn while you're there will determine how long you're able to stay. So if you didn't learn shit while you're there, but just being an A&R, then guess what? You have no identity. You will be driving Uber because your relationship and your communicable skills are not there. You're not talking to anybody. Nobody's in favor of your conversation and what you have to bring to the table, because we don't know. We just know that you were a guy that stood along somebody that signed SZA or signed Lil Baby. Okay, cool. You took a couple of cool pictures. You did it for the gram. And now, what are your stats? What are your real numbers? Right? Because I brought things to the building at Sony, opening up the Atlanta office, and whether it was Sada Baby signing Rod Wave or whomever, somebody else may have gotten the credit on paper. But understand, that's where it stops at, because that same person needed to outsource a person like myself or Nick or Third to get in contact, because the business is 95% relationship based. That's it. The people that are bringing people in the business are not training them to go further. Bernard Alexander, Leo Cohen, these people who brought me into the business trained me to do more, to say, hey, you go into this right here, you're going to look to have growth, to be here. You got two sides of the table, the side that gets the check and the side that issues it. Now, what side are you working towards? And that's where we are.
Hey, I want to say something to what you just said, Verse. I met on Friday. I was honored by the city of Atlanta for my contribution to the music business. Absolutely. Thank you. I met a young lady there. I hadn't met her before. Her name was Alexis. I think it was Alexis Thrasher. I think that was her name. Okay. Cool young lady. She handled all the social media for Usher during the Super Bowl, leading up to the album release, all of that. She was like a social media manager for Usher. I didn't know who she was, but Dean introduced me to her. Amazing young lady. She's I'm 43. She had to be mid-30s, maybe even slightly younger. And one of the things that she said to me was that she had a hard time accepting the recognition that she got on Friday, because she was like, I'm so used to playing the background, so used to being low-key. She's like, there's been things that I've done for people, or done on projects in the music business I didn't get the credit for. She's like, but I wasn't worried about it, because I know what I did and my team know what I did, and I'm just about keeping my head down and doing the work. And I looked her in the eye and I said, yo, that's the stupidest thing I ever fucking heard. And it's not because it was stupid, because that used to be me. That. But I used to be like, oh yeah, if I just work hard, keep my head down, do what I got to do, forge ahead, it'll all pay off, right? My hard work, everybody will notice it. I'll move up the ladder, and that's what it'll be. But what we've all noticed is that don't work like that. Life don't work like that. If you don't announce yourself, if you don't proclaim your if you don't fight for your recognition, if you don't fight for the credit on those albums, if you don't fight for your credit on it, like people, like I think it was Adonis who said, you're only as good as your next job. How you get the next job is everybody looks at what you did before, and they're going to look on paper, they're going to look on Google, they're going to look on social, and they're going to say, oh man, I thought Nick did da-da-da-da, but I can't find his name nowhere. That becomes a problem. And a lot of us, myself included, but not no more, but a lot of us come from that era where we didn't take pictures. I have the whole first maybe 10 years of the music business, of me being in the music business, I don't have any pictures. I'm hardly ever in a picture with Jeezy. I'm hardly ever in a picture with anybody that I really met or built a relationship with, because we come from that era of, you don't be all in the pictures. You don't be
background.
You've been the background for a reason. Yeah, you're in the background for a reason. But in 2024, unfortunately, a lot of us who grew up in that era and never learned to get out of that era, now what? So I would encourage all of y'all, like in the time period where you're fighting to figure out who your identity is and all of that, like, that is one of the main things you need to do. I mean, I hate to be the person that's like brag, boast, but I mean, you damn near have to. Part of the reason that I do this call, because right now, be clear, like I told y'all at the beginning of this call, I work somewhere. I'm supposed to be working right now. I do this call because if that job ever goes anywhere, y'all still associate Nick Love with marketing, and I do this thing every single Monday right here on Fanbase. I do it for a reason. I put my job to the side and do this for an hour to constantly reinforce Nick Love Monday morning marketing meeting. Not Nick Love 1 RPM, not Nick Love this, not Nick Love that, Nick Love. And I fight for my identity every single day. I made a flyer, put my face all over it, just so everybody can associate me with what I do. And so I'm telling all of y'all, like, take that into consideration as well. That being humble, being low-key, sometimes it's backfire in your face.
That's a great point too, Nick.
Your advertisement is what you say about yourself, and publicity is what other people say about you. So everybody on the call, whether you're in branding, marketing, radio, whatever you're in, right? You have to, before you pay somebody to do something else, right? Know how to do a little bit of it yourself. So what I'm speaking on is that when you're speaking on yourself, you can advertise all day. Compliments don't super count when you give them to yourself. You put that work in, but also speak up about it so other people can say, hey, you know what? I know what Nick Love does. That's what we do now. I know what Verse does. I know what Third does, because advertising is what you say about yourself. You campaigning all day, but the publicity is what other people say about you. And then you can be able to carry on, and you don't have to worry about your identity, because how they pass you off is how you're identified. Nobody gets passed off without knowing what they're passing off. It just works that way.
Hey, Dre Davis in the chat, some Suge Knight said he didn't want us all in the videos dancing. And I'm like, yo, Suge Knight gave y'all some shitty fucking advice. And we laughed at the time, and we was like, look at Puff looking crazy, all in the videos dancing with the artists. Puff, one of the most famous people on this fucking earth. Now, we can't, we ain't gonna talk about all the other Puff shit that's going on right now, but Puff being all in them videos, all on the songs, dancing, singing, turned Puff into, we know who Puff is for that reason, because he made sure that he wasn't just the manager, the CEO, the background marketing guy, the guy who came up with the ideas. We know Puff because Puff inserted himself into those situations, for good, bad, or however you choose to look at it. But there's a reason Puff is Puff, and some of us are who we are. You know what I'm saying? So,
but that also goes in, you're also not too big to lose everything also. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do.
Jesus Christ, that's a fact. You ain't wrong. Where's Vanny go? I want to get Vanny on. Did she leave? Damn it. I want to make sure we got Vanny on here before she dipped off. It's 11:05. I want to go ahead and start to wrap up this call. I do have to jump, but if anybody, Gary or Isaac, you want to stay on, keep the call going, because I see the chat still rolling, and I see people with their hands still up that we didn't get to. But I do want to wrap my portion of it up. We do this every single Monday right here on Fanbase. I appreciate everybody who jumped into this conversation and who contributed, everybody in the chat, everybody in the audience, everybody on stage. We do this right here every single Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come up with amazing topics that hopefully, get you guys to thinking for the rest of the week. And I hope that you take these conversations and maybe have them outside of Fanbase with your friends, with your fam, or maybe on social media. Just, let them know that, where you heard it here first. So, we'll be right here next week. Gary, you gonna hang, or what you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm gonna get these people who got their hand up, let them express themselves. Well, not let them, create a...
Yeah, bring them all up. I see Leonard. I know Leonard had his hand up for a while. I don't know where he went. I see a Sierra. I see Javanis. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And I've seen a few people in the chat that was really adding some good stuff. So shouts out to y'all. We'll be here right here on Fanbase next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and y'all keep the conversation going, man. Love, respect, peace. I'll talk to y'all later.
Peace. All right, so ladies first. Javon, tell us where you're calling from and what would you like to add to the conversation? Javon going once.
Javanes.
Good
morning, everyone.
Where are you calling from?
Washington, D.C. I just wanted to say something. I've been offline for a few months. And I just wanted to caution everyone, I've been targeted for AI hacking. I don't know who did it or what, but it really is. I was just starting out my business, and they hacked my business. They hacked everything, basically. And they used AI to do it. I definitely want to caution everyone to don't fear change if you have it, to protecting yourself or learning some things about AI. It's good to, they have a lot of classes there, and it's actually pushed me into wanting to take some classes to enhance my skills to protect myself and probably people that can't afford to spare the change to do that. So just wanted to say that I'm happy to be back. And I missed this conversation, so thank you for all the motivational that was going on. And I usually host a prayer room, and I haven't been able to host that either. So I'm going to start back doing the prayer room. And my business is, I'm not sure if it had to do with my business, because my business that I have is a skincare. It's called Javanes Miracle Products. It's skincare products. I just started out, and it actually changing lives. And it's not just skincare. It's actually offer them healing naturally. And so I don't know if that's what it was about, but they have not stopped. I just got some more security. And I'm going to learn some skill sets to protect myself.
Yeah. Learning skill sets is a key for growth and expansion and scale. So we appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
You're welcome. Leonard, welcome to the stage. Where are you calling from, my brother? And what would you like to add to the conversation?
Good morning. I'm calling from D.C. area. What I'd like to add to the conversation is something we all know is the best time to find a job is when you have a job. And I'd like to add to that by saying that when you look at global consumption, the U.S. only represents 5%. So if you're not looking outside of the U.S., you're leaving 95% of potential business and opportunities on the table. I say that because there are people, black people, who are doing $1 million in transactions and haven't made any money here in the U.S. So consider that. A year ago, I took a trip to Colombia because I'm in food and beverage, and I'm also in oil and gas. I met with a company in Paeta, I met with a company in Bogota, and I met with a company in Medellin. That trip is paying off now to where this morning, for the second time in 2 weeks, I got inbox about an oil company for sale. And they're looking for a buy-in of 50%, 40%. The last one, they wanted $300 million investment. Now, I got connects of sovereign wealth people, high net worth, ultra high net worth people in the Middle East who would jump all over this. So now I'm repackaging this with the deal sheet so that I can send people. And I'm also getting inbox deals on food and beverage from Chile for salmon. I know I do transactions with Cisco. They've agreed to bring me on as a supplier because I've been working with them since 2001. Now, back in 2021. In 2021, I had a day job, but I was working on what am I going to do in retirement because I want to keep my bread up. I want to keep things going. And then I looked at Fanbase, and I invested in Fanbase because my money has to keep growing and I have to keep doing transactions. Now, you got to do that while you have a day job, while you have disposable income to invest in yourself and other businesses that are up and coming. And you can only do that while you have a day job. So don't wait until that day job goes away before you start thinking, because the resources aren't going to be there and you might have to lean on people for a time. So you have to do it while you're fluid. You're back my time.
Agreed. I appreciate that, my brother.
Hey, Gary, let me say something real quick before I hop off. As it relates to the music industry, I will just say this. This might be a time for you to pivot to purpose. I know a lot of people think about pivoting to finding another bag, finding another job, but sometimes the pivot is in the finding your purpose. So consider that in terms of what's your next move. Some of us need to step back and to do some self-reflection to find out exactly in terms of finding who we are. Reminding ourselves of who we are. That purpose will be revisited. So sometimes pivoting to purpose. And then lastly, it's just that now is the time in terms of if you've been laid off, like I'm in tech, like Tiffany said earlier, I got hit last year too. So, you go through your stages of grief, but one thing that has helped me is to make sure that I stay spiritually centered. So whatever you believe in, that is something that you definitely need to tap into in terms of making sure that you don't lose yourself completely, because that depression is real. Depression is real, especially when you got bills and you got kids and you got responsibilities. So make sure that you're tapping into whatever spiritual center that you subscribe to. And that's all I got to say to that, bro.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. Like I would say with regards to your purpose, I would say always pivot towards purpose. You feel me? Like that's always a safe place to be. It's safe from mentally, emotionally, and of course, if you can, attach finances to your purpose, then, you're basically living the dream. So it's just all about, self-discovery and growth and things of that nature. So just, take some time, spend some time with yourself, figure out who you are, what your value proposition is, what you bring to the table or what you want to bring to the table. And then just kind of develop yourself in that fashion. And then, reintroduce yourself in that fashion once you've discovered yourself, you know what I'm saying? And once you put the time and the effort in to building yourself up in the fashion that you want to move, reintroduce yourself. Figure out how to talk about yourself, which I'll say I was rusty at. Like every time you start a new venture, you have to learn how to talk about yourself and that new venture space that you're in. And that takes some time and some energy and some practice as well. So definitely invest that time in yourself as well. I think we're going to go ahead and jump. Anybody else on stage got anything they want to add to the conversation?
Hey, Gary, this is Bentley. Real quick, I just also want to just remind everybody, too, in that time period where you are laid off and there are no calls going, as a entrepreneur for 20 years, I've been an entrepreneur since 18. I've never really had to clock into anybody's business, but I still work on a 9 to 5, or technically for me, a 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule. I do a full 12 hours, so I'm a full-time entrepreneur. And so just create that safe schedule for you to wake up, meditate, exercise, fix you some breakfast, explore through your emails, brainstorming session time, and then begin to work on the different things that you can pivot towards, the different programs that you need to learn, that you can learn that are actually free out here for you to continue to push whatever it is that endeavor that's inside it. So I want to make sure that the people are also encouraged during this time period and to motivate and operate yourself as the executive that you see yourself as. I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a great morning.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you all.
Gary, I just got one thing to say. When I hear this whole conversation, I thought it was very insightful and very informative. And I actually had a conversation about the music industry yesterday in a different room in the fan base. And when I look at all of you guys and I look at your positions that y'all played inside of the music industry, me as a particular creator, I look at y'all and I'm like, oh my God, these guys are tapped into different types of people. These guys have major connections to different types of demographics of people. And I sit there and I say, as a creator, these guys would be so useful to me, who could put me around particular people, and I can help start building my growth or my reach in these particular demographics. So to answer the question that a lot of people have been asking, what to do after you've been laid off in the music industry, and if you're somebody like an A&R or you do marketing and stuff like that, my advice would literally be look for a creator that's really pushing it, who's really a creator, who's really putting out content consistently, and then try to team up with that creator and put them in the environments of the connections that you have, and you'll possibly make the next DC Young Fly, the next Young Mark, the next Young Marco, the next Like, you can literally make, it's like so many possibilities of what you guys can do right now. And I think the future is going to be driven by you guys if y'all just like look at the creator economy. That's my thoughts, you know.
Well, you're saying you guys, but I mean, you're part of you guys. You're included. You're in entertainment. You feel me?
True. True. But I'm not in the music industry. You guys know how to market like crazy, you know, like when I sit down and look at the people that you've worked with and the people you collaborated with, and then look at how far they've gone, and I say, wow, if I had a team of marketers or A&Rs and people who have connections in the music industry, you don't even know how far I can like literally take this, you know? So for the position, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I would venture to say that you do have that. You know, you have that Rolodex right now. It's happening as we speak. You feel me? So, check your DM. You know what I'm saying? I hit you up in the DMs. Other than that, you know, you got everybody's number, or you got a direct line to everybody that you need. So that part is already happening. It's just up to you to utilize that. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely will. Thank you for the room, bro. I really appreciate it, and keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you guys. We'll be here next Monday, 10 a.m. Peace out.